Hey everybody, this is Bubba from Access 21. We recently had a Zoom meeting about producing from home, and we're going to show you some clips from it. Hope you guys enjoy.
So I hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for joining our Zoom class. It's going to be producing from home. So I hope everybody can hear me well and see me well. We got a shared screen, so you should be able to see the PowerPoint presentation as I go through it. So hopefully everybody is able to see everything. If not, or if any time or any moment that any of your signals drop out or anything, we are going to record this, so we'll be able to post anything that maybe anybody may have missed. So hopefully, if anybody has any connection issues, we'll have the whole thing played back, and everybody can take a look on anything they may have missed. Today, we're going to be talking about a little bit of everything from producing from home. We're going to go into a couple of light subjects, kind of how to edit, what kind of cameras you can use at your disposal, how to use kind of common household items, also too, to go in and create content from home. Because obviously during this time, we're going to be finding some innovative ways to produce content for your shows that you have going on. So again, I got my screen shared. Everything's still looking good on your side, James?
Yep.
All right. So doing this Zoom class, the way we're going to have it set up, I'll kind of go through the initial presentation. We'll have some little spots that I may try to stop in and see if anybody's got any questions. If anybody does have any questions, you can send them through the chat window, send them directly to James. So he's going to kind of compile all of them, and then we'll kind of do maybe a little Q&A at the end of certain sections. I'm also going to be showing a couple of small videos to kind of go a little bit more in depth on certain subjects. But overall, again, too, we'll try to be fairly, we won't go too long with this class. We'll go for a little bit and just kind of see where we end up, but won't try to make it too long for you guys. Today, some of the topics that we're going to cover is, again, too, the biggest tool that we have right now that probably everybody has is our smartphones. So I'll kind of talk about ways that you can record onto your phone, ways that you can use that to your advantage, and how to use that to kind of get some of the best quality in terms of using small little camera lenses, and also some the microphones so you can pick up good audio. Also, too, we're going to go over some other small equipment. Good thing at this time and age, there is a lot of good low-cost equipment out there that can improve the quality significantly for your shows. So I'll go show you a couple lists of some items that you can take a look at. Also, too, that are all in this lovely program called Zoom. I think I don't know if this is their first time using it, or if you by this point now, I know a lot of people have been using it. So we'll talk about how you can implement that into your own shows. And then we're going to go over some tips and tricks for lighting and audio. We know that everybody here typically records in the studios or maybe even out in the field. I'm just going to show you a couple of tricks if you can't make it back into the studio. Even though we're open, if you would rather try to produce from home, we're going to show you a couple little tricks. There's a couple little ways that, using the same kind of practices that we use in the studio, you can actually do at home. Also, too, we may kind of do a little quick discussion about ideas for content creation. Again, too, during this time, during some of the lockdowns and stuff, we got to figure out a way to keep your viewers, involved and to keep them interested into the programming that y'all create. So we're going to kind of talk about maybe some little ideas to make it a little bit more interesting in terms of, again, if you're having to use Zoom or you're having to use limited equipment, how you can still bring the best quality program to your viewer. And then roughly, we're going to talk about some rough edit programs to use at home. I don't know if anybody is able to edit from home, but I'm going to talk about some options you may have, some free, some paid. And we'll kind of do a quicker walkthrough about some of the programs that you may have access to, and kind of talk about some of the limitations from your home computer compared to pretty much a bigger processing computer, I would say. Yep, and then we'll keep on. We'll go ahead and jump right in. Let me just double check on everybody that's here. It's about 26 people, so we're doing good. All right, so let's go ahead and start off talking about our smartphone. The cameras on smartphones can be used to record content for your program. Pretty much every camera, even some of the newer ones, can record in pretty much slow motion, higher frame rates, and even some can even film up to 4K now in terms of some of the iPhones and some of the bigger models that are out there. But even if you have like a low cost phone, those still can record fairly good video quality for your program. So I can tell, I think mine, I have like a very a cheaper phone, and it actually shoots pretty good video. Main thing, whenever you're recording, there's a couple things I just want to go over quickly. Some of the phones out there, they either have a lot of memory or you can expand the memory. So you can actually add a micro SD card to some of your phones. So, again, if you're trying to record a full 30-minute conversation or a 30-minute show directly on your phone, kind of always make sure that you look ahead of time and make sure that you have enough space on there. Certain phones may be kind of limited, or also too, sometimes in your phones you have to make sure that you select for it to choose your external drive, your external card that you have inserted into your phone. So kind of always make sure, or also too, some of it saves to the cloud automatically. So again, everybody's phone's kind of different. Some people have Android, some people have iPhones. They all kind of work kind of differently. But if that is an option for you, kind of always take the time to kind of go through the settings, see how much memory you have left, so you can actually use it, because you don't want to start recording a bunch of stuff and then run out of memory, then all of a sudden, you're losing footage. Also, too, this is kind of just straightforward, but we know that when you shoot with your phones, it's very natural to hold up your phone like this vertically, compared to horizontally, which will create a basic landscape mode for your footage. You always want to make sure that you record horizontally, because that's going to fit pretty much the form of all TVs in that horizontal frame. Again, if you get that vertical, you're going to have those bars on the side whenever you play it back. So again, too, you're able to fill up more of the screen with the image when you shoot horizontally. So I'll go over that really quickly. And then next one I'm going to do, we're going to watch a quick video about kind of what we just talked about, recording on your phone. Let me go ahead and pull up the next video. And let me just double check my settings. I want to make sure everybody can hear it. It looks good. This is one.
So you want to make some videos, but there's no money in your budget. What if you already have everything you need right here in your pocket? Let's talk about that. Watching video content created with a phone is no longer easily discernible from something shot on a big fancy camera. You don't need to think of mobile content as something ridiculous, although it does have its time and place. Just about any smartphone can shoot incredible video these days, but some are better than others. For example, an iPhone 11 Pro has 3 lenses on it, enabling you to have a super wide, wide, and close-up shot, all with one device. On the other hand, an iPhone 8 only has 1 lens. That doesn't necessarily mean it's worse, it just provides you with less options, and there are third-party workarounds like clip-on lenses if you really want them. Apple isn't the only company putting amazing cameras in their phones. Here are some phones capable of shooting incredible video in 2020. The Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, Google Pixel 3 XL, OnePlus 6T, and the iPhone 11 Pro. In choosing to create a video with your phone over a professional camera, there are some trade-offs. You're stuck with the focal lens that are built in your phone. They shoot poorly in low light. They send a small shock through your body if you shoot something poorly. And the footage isn't great for color grading later on. One of those statements isn't true. That said, you can creatively work around these limitations and still make some awesome content. Phones also provide some sort of input so you can attach an external microphone or other accessories. There are a variety of apps that are available which unlock extra features not available within the basic video apps on your phone. We highly recommend searching for apps that can help you use your phone to its fullest potential. We hope this helped you figure out if shooting on a mobile device is a right fit for your needs. At the very least, you can use it to call an investor so you can get a bigger budget. Just kidding. Check out the rest of the series at Vimeo Video School.
So let's get a little kind of quick overview too. And again, too, you're looking at, as technology keeps on progressing, there's better and newer phones out there. But the good thing is that a lot of the older phones that are currently out there still can do the same kind of thing. What I'm going to go into next really quick is some of that extra
I have a secret that the video professionals don't want you to know. But first, in this video, we're going to talk about content, and I already proved to you my first point. We're about 14 seconds into this video, and you're still watching it. Why? Well, aside from my fashionable clothing, I strung you along with an alluring opening line that made you want to know more. When this is done with article headlines, it's called clickbait. But this is a video, so how does watch trap sound? The first 5 seconds are key. Scroll culture is alive and well, and if you can't grab someone's attention in the first 5 seconds, you're toast. It's on to the next piece of content. Spark some curiosity up front, and you have a much greater chance of keeping them for the rest of your video. Maybe.
Maybe. Another way to ensure your viewers are watching to the end is don't make the end so far away. Keep your story concise. Everyone's looking for the punchline, and if your setup is taking too long, they're either going to just scrub to the end of the video to figure out what it is, or lose interest and move on to a video of a dog and a human sharing spaghetti. I mean, have you seen this? Have you seen this?
Don't go off on a tangent. Think about the structure of your video and make sure there's a beginning, middle, and end. Plan out in advance as much as you can to make sure you're hitting all your targets and communicating everything your audience needs to know. You can do that with text, props, or a variety of other methods. Just make sure it's all there.
Lastly, consider your thumbnail as part of your content. Depending on the platform, it's the first thing a viewer sees and is essential in grabbing their attention.
Don't let a platform automatically choose one for you. Either choose it yourself, or even better, stage a shot for your thumbnail during your shoot that you can use later on. Bonus points if you've got some Photoshop skills.
We hope you found these content tips useful.
Check out the rest of this series on Vimeo Video School.
All right. So one quick thing I'm going to go through next is some of those items that you can add onto your phone. So I'm going to do a quick, because that one slide isn't loading. So some of the stuff we're looking for, a lot of products that are out there, you get a lot of what's called clip-on lenses. If you could see through my window, I'm kind of just showing you usually like a basic what they look like. Typically, they have, it's just, you don't even have to do anything physically to install it. All you got to do is just clip on the lens. Pretty much it hangs off on the side. Some of them are different types of lenses, more like a telephoto lens. Some are kind of like a wide angle lens, and some actually have some kind of cool little filters. And again, too, you can find these very low cost. A lot of stuff, again, if you find on the regular websites, even like Amazon or B&H Photo or Adorama, some of those different ones that are available, again, are very cheap and play around with. They kind of provide an extra way, again, too, especially like a wide angle. If you are talking with somebody, especially, you know, in terms of like social distancing and you having to kind of space everybody away, you use a wider angle lens, you can have both people in the shot. One thing to kind of look out for is you don't want to go too extreme. It's kind of what we call a fisheye lens, where everything kind of looks distorted. But there is a lot of good lenses out there to kind of give you a little bit more better quality look for your programming. Again, too, a lot of these are very affordable. I'm not going to go over every brand and make and model. Pretty much, if you just kind of go through the reviews, I have a list in my PDF that we'll show later on to everybody. I do have 2 lists of the top rated ones. So we'll try to get that to you guys so you can kind of take a look for yourselves, because again, everybody has different needs for what they need to do for the show. So again, if you have a higher budget, or you know, if it's something you just want to experiment with, there's a lot of good options out there. Same thing with microphones. If even just by Googling these microphones for phone, you'll see a couple different types of them. Some of them look as simple as this. Let me just pull up one. I just kind of pulled up first. This one's through the Apple website. Some of them, a higher quality one, like a Rode microphone, pretty much just attaches right into the headphone jack, or in this case, this one's actually through the iPhone port, lightning port. All of them have kind of different kinds of looks to it, but essentially, some of them have windscreens that you can go through and look at them and see the different types that you have. Again, too, there's a lot of apps and stuff out there that you can actually monitor your audio pretty well. So if it's something that you want to kind of take a look at, there's a lot of good options. Again, I do have a little list that we'll be sending out later that has a list of all the top rated ones. And again, too, it's very important to always catch good audio as you're recording. And again, too, same thing with video. Those little things go a big way. Let me go and click on the back to our presentation. Let's see. Give me one moment. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of skip ahead to the kind of tips with for lighting and audio, just because we just talked about some of the microphones you can use. One of the biggest ways, if you're recording from home, to create again a good, nice balance of light. Again, too, if you're here used to here being shooting in the studios, used to having a full lighting board, bunch of lights, gels, a whole array of equipment to use to bring out your pretty much the lighting that you can use for your shows. At home, you may have some lamps, some other stuff that you have to kind of work on, but you can use all those to your advantage, especially if you're filming during the day. One of the biggest things that you can use is the windows you have at home. Some of the windows that you have at home, even with the curtains, you can kind of diffuse the light a little bit to kind of help you create, like, kind of bring in that nice ambient light to record your subjects on. So if you had your dining room table or desk or anything by a window, use that light to your advantage. Sometimes during, you want to make sure that, if you're recording at, a certain part of the day when the light's coming straight in through the window, you don't want that to hit your subjects too hard. It's going to create a very harsh light. This is going to overpower your subject. And especially with some of these smartphones that you film on, some of those smartphones, they'll try to adjust automatically for exposure. So again, if anybody, even right now on the Zoom meeting, if you got a window in the background, if you have it open or with a lot of lights coming in, your camera may adjust for that bright light that's coming in. And in that case, it may darken your face, may darken everything else that's in the room. So again, too, most of these, even computers and smartphones, a lot of times on those cameras, they have kind of an auto brightness adjustment. So again, if it sees those bright hot spots in the rooms you're recording, it's going to think that, oh, I need to adjust for this bright spot. So kind of always take that into account whenever you're filming. Also, too, with, kind of show some examples on the presentation. You can see, too, a little bit of having, using kind of like a nice, if anybody's got like even like a bed sheet, a nice white bed sheet or anything, a lot of times people have draped those over their windows to kind of control the light that is coming in. That kind of helps. Again, you make that nice soft light, and it kind of gives a nice balance and ambiance to your subjects. And also, too, again, too, just by using those household objects, that kind of redirects light. Even, too, an easy way to redirect the light that you may have in, just say, your office or anything, is even if you have basic white poster board, or we call a little, some even the presentation boards that you have out there. You can also set that up and use that to kind of bounce light around, because it's a nice bright white object, and it's a pretty much bouncing light that comes in directly. So if that's an option, there you go. So I got to see somebody on there has a little white piece of paper, Keith over there. So using those to your advantage to bring in light, let it bounce around and create that shape. And again, too, using curtains, anything for that bright light, if you're recording during the day, can make it soften up an object. Now, let's just say, like right now, I'm currently in the studio coordinator office here at Access 21. So I have fluorescent lights over my head. Now, again, right now, it's nice and bright in here, so it's giving a nice kind of basic glow to me, but I can always use additional light, let's just say from household lamps, or any other objects around, to actually bring a little bit of light coming forward. If you're in the office setting, or if you're in any kind of inside of environment, most of the time your lighting is going to be coming from above. So again, too, you kind of always want to make sure there's no heavy shadows, because that light's going to come in from over top and kind of cast down some unflattering shadows on your face. So again, too, even using like a white piece of paper, finding ways to kind of, depending on your frame, use that kind of white bounciness to kind of bring up a little bit of soft feel to your face. Um, Again, too, just kind of go over some more tidbits. You always, again, like I was saying, make sure there's not more light in front of the subject than behind them. And again, too, you're just trying to spread that light around. Common lights, if you got, common shades on it, that kind of, you're able to kind of direct the light a little bit, and it kind of is not overpowering. Even though I've seen some of like IKEA lights, some of them even have the flexible heads on it, and you can actually use that to shoot against a wall or something. Just say if you have a white painted wall or anything, you can always shoot light into that, and it will bounce back towards your face and kind of, again, won't be too harsh. Again, too, if I put on a light on my face right now, you would see that this computer webcam would try to compensate for it. May look my whole side of the face be completely overlit, and then the background may be darker. Again, too, if you can avoid fluorescent lights, or anything that you can, any of those harsh lightings that we just went over, you can avoid it. Try to. Now, obviously, depending on where you're shooting and how you're shooting, you may not have that option for you. So again, too, just try to get that as much light as you can, and to make it somewhat look presentable. And then from there, during these days, as you're creating content, your viewer, again, I think I was watching ESPN and some other stuff. A lot of people are using the same equipment you're using. They're using phones. They're using Zoom. A lot of these different applications, and the content that you're creating, if the viewer is still going to be a little bit more forgiving during these times. So don't put too much pressure on yourself, because again, at the end of the day, your viewer is there to see your show. They understand that you may be limited. And a lot of times, and even content we see on major broadcasting platforms, that as we're shifting to more of a webcam, smartphone, that the viewers are going to be like, oh, it's okay, we get it. Everybody knows. I don't know if that was a hand up, James, or I don't know if anybody any questions. And then also too, don't zoom in if you don't have to. Physically move close to your object. Typically on smartphones, if you try to zoom in, it's really going to just kind of tear apart the resolution, unless you got a higher quality phone. But still, you're always going to kind of see that that kind of like be really noisy. It's just going to look kind of a little bit just not as appealing. So if you got a wider shot, try to physically move in your phone itself to get this shot framed the way you would like it. Again, too, anytime you zoom in, you're losing the resolution. You pretty much, phone is trying to zoom into that, so you're going to see some kind of, not pixelation, but it's just not going to look as great on camera. So even those small little things going forward help create a decent image. Again, too, always look at your background. If you're filming, even if you're filming in a kitchen, a bedroom, dining room, living room, always kind of take a look, what's in the background. Just like set dressing and some of the stuff that we go over during the studio classes here, all those same things take account. Again, too, you don't want to have an interview with somebody with everything kind of looking dull in the background. You may want to have, if you got some common household objects, even if you have some plants, you can rearrange. Add those to your background shot, make it visually interesting. When we'll go over some Zoom stuff in a second, there are some digital backgrounds available too. I think Theachi over there is on an island, I believe, right now. So he's got a nice little background going on. So there is some different options that are available. But essentially, you want to make sure that background, just as we teach in the studio classes here, that use that extra moment, add some whatever the subject matter of your show is, add a little bit of that in the background. Into household plants, books, and even lamps. Again, too, now the good thing is that some of the lamps you may have around your house may be a little bit softer, or you may have some of your lights may be on dimmers. You can actually have those in the background, have a nice little dim to it. It's not going to affect the image. As before, when I was saying if a light's too bright, I know some of the lights, if you can adjust it, you can dim it really low. While it may look, unusable to you in terms of brightness, it may look very flattering on camera, and add that little accent piece to really kind of stand out. Again, too, just take an extra moment, even just these small adjustments. Always look at your frame size. Take a moment with your phone, with your camera, with your webcam to kind of frame up some shots, even before you start shooting, to see the best stuff. Also, too, you kind of want to look for any kind of depth to your shots. So, and get instead of me shooting here, I could always shift the whole camera and have kind of a more depth to my shot, because if you see behind me, I can get the equipment in. I can kind of showcase, oh, this is Axis 21. This is some of the equipment we have. And you can now create a depth in your shot just from just shifting from here compared to here, what may just be a slightly flatter background. So again, too, just play around with it. Again, you can really ramp up a set or your background very easily just by taking a couple of household items and using them to your advantage. So moving on, again, too, I got some of the same stuff that we talked about, in the studio classes, if everybody's taken the studio classes, or if you haven't, we go over what we call as 3-point lighting. That's essentially when we have a key light, which is going to be providing most of the light that's going to be used on the subject, a fill light, and then a backlight. Again, too, the lights that we use to accomplish this, they don't have to exactly be, lights in the studio. Common household items work. Again, too, if you got a bright lamp, use that by your desk or dining room or wherever you're filming. Place in front of you. Use that as your main key light. Your fill light, you may be able to find a smaller light. Use that to fill in the around the other side. So the same components that we've taught you in the studio class, use them just out there in the field. You can do the last even a small backlight. Typically, too, if overhead lights, if you're able to adjust it, you may be able to create a nice little soft backlight. Depending on what you're shooting. So again, those same ideas that we teach to you in the classes here, if you've been able to take the studio classes, do translate out in the field. Doesn't matter what kind of light it is; it's pretty much what the job of the light, it's doing. So kind of always think about that as you're filming. To go back into audio, again too. A lot of cameras, a lot of smartphones, your webcams, they have built-in microphones. Sometimes they may not be the best. They're pretty much directional. So we kind of want to make sure that, especially if people have cases and stuff too, depending on how your case is set, you kind of want to do a quick test of recording audio on your phone to see how well that audio is being picked up. Because again, if I'm filming from right here to right there, even just 2-3 feet away from you, you may see a noticeable difference. So kind of do a test. If you can, always keep the microphone as close to your subject as possible. Again, as we kind of talk about some of the additional items you can purchase, you can always purchase external microphones. A lot of the microphones, they just plug in straight to the headphone jack or into the lightning port. So always kind of make sure that it fits to whatever device you're planning to use. Even if you have a small camera around the house. One thing I haven't really got to go over yet is they're all smaller cameras that may be affordable out there. And there's some other good stuff out there. Let's see. Oh, let me go check the chat. Sorry, I was on a wall, guys. Let me check the chats real quick. All right, so we got to do a specific lens that we recommend. Again, I'll send you guys the list out after the class. I have a couple that are available. Again, too, you're looking maybe for a nice wider angle lens. Again, too, as I was talking about, I think this was from Deborah. So from a wider lens, you can kind of capture everybody that's in the shot. And again, too, you don't want to go too extreme because you kind of have a small distortion. If it's you and you alone speaking to the camera, there are some that's kind of a nice little, a smaller, like I'd say maybe a 55 mil lens, which you'll see on the little, it's pretty good, a basic kind of medium lens that fills up the shot. So again, too, a lot of the lenses that are out there, they kind of come in packs. So some of them actually have a couple in there. And those I would say is usually your best buy because then you get a couple different options. It usually comes with a fisheye lens, which I was just talking about. It's a very wide angle lens. And then just a basic wider lens, medium, and then usually like a telephoto lens. It kind of gives you more of a zoom in shot. But again, too, if you're looking at a telephoto lens, That's a lens that really kind of zooms into the body, not really adjustable, but more of a zoom in. One issue you may have is that because it's kind of zoomed in into a certain area, is that any kind of movement in your smartphone or say webcam or whatever you're using, it's going to be a little bit more noticeable. As if a wide angle lens, because it's got a wider shot, any kind of small shakes to the lens may not be as noticeable. So that may be something. Also, too, I'll have on that list is some basic tripods too. There's a couple of cheap tripods for about $20. Even I think ones that you can even just put on your desk that holds your phone for you. So that's one way of propping it up propping it up so you can get that good quality and not have too much shake into it. Again, too, if you kind of you don't want to buy a tripod, you just want to just prop it up. Again, use books around your house. There's different ways of propping it up. Kind of do a little test one ahead of time. It can be done. It may look a little strange, but just by using common household objects, it is possible to kind of get your camera lens at the appropriate height. And again, too, even with zoom, as we're about to talk about zoom, you always want to look at flattering angles for your subjects. So kind of I'm going to take another step back really quick. As you look at eye levels and everything, we want to make sure that you kind of be slightly above eye level, because it kind of gives a nice little flattering look to our jawline. Obviously, when you have the camera straight up, I think everybody gets, a little self-conscious of, the bottom of the face and everything. So again, too, even just by raising it up just a little bit, makes a big adjustment. So kind of took a look at that. Again, too, external mics. So this is a question from Eric. External mics vastly improve your audio, especially in terms of what pickup pattern that it has. So if anybody have taken the control room class here that we've had in the past, is that there's a couple of different pickup patterns from those microphones, whether it's cardioid, omnidirectional, and kind of pretty much the wider spread microphones. They can pick up, whether it's pointed straight at you, or if you're in a group session, one that kind of picks from all directions. So again, to those, if you're able to put that into your budget, if that's something that is cost effective, they do vastly improve. They do help out a lot. And even too, those most of the time, those microphones that you have for that you can put on your phone, you could actually still plug into your computer too. So let's just say if I'm doing a show on Zoom and I was doing two different segments, I could use that same microphone. It should plug in. Most computers at home do have a microphone jack. Just kind of make sure you have a long enough cable. Sometimes those cables are kind of short. So maybe something you want to look at that gives you a little bit of flexibility. And again, too, to mount it, you can actually mount it on top of your screen. Or again, too, in this case, if you have it on your phone, if you have a long enough cord, you can actually take it to bring it to the subject themselves. So you can kind of mix and match and see what works best for you. So again, too, those external mics will vastly help out your audio because, again, too, the pickup pattern, whether it's directionally or not, can help out that audio. So hopefully I hope that answers some questions there. To go back into audio, again, so, if you're using your smartphone or any kind of built-in cameras, excuse me, you have to worry about, small things that can mess up the audio. Again, even for distance. I don't know if you can see, even from right here to right here, you may see a slightly different pickup from the audio. And that just shows you what 2 to 3 feet from a built-in webcam can do for your audio. If you're filming in a kitchen or if you're filming into a very large room, one thing you may want to take a look at is how big, whether if you have hardwood floors or carpets, you may have an echo. Kind of take that into account because sound does bounce around. If you're recording in a kitchen, sometimes you may pick up a slight echo. That's because those big spaces, all the sound of your voice is bouncing around the room and coming back towards you. So in this case, if you have a heavily carpeted room, you'd be surprised there is a kind of a slightly noticeable change of that echo. A lot of times too, I know that if anybody does podcast or any kind of internal stuff, just on audio, usually you want to go in a smaller room. Smaller room, and I know a lot of times I think podcasters doing this time when anybody does audio, just audio only, sometimes they say the best spot at your house is in your closet because you got a bunch of clothes around you. That's muffling the sound, and it makes your audio a little bit stronger. And again, too, if you got curtains, anything that you can just see that can kind of soak up that sound, kind of take that into account. And again, too, there's always going to be that balance of like, oh, I want to showcase a nice, pretty background, but also you don't want to give up your audio. So you kind of have to find that balance. If you want to shoot in a big room and you have to use the onboard mic, you may have to make some small adjustments to pick up the best audio you can. And again, too, if possible, I'd say lean a little bit more towards the audio side because essentially your programs here mainly, audio is the main key because it's, your voice, you're speaking or your guest or speaking at the camera, and that's what drives your content. That's what the viewer is here for. So again, if you're able to focus on anything a little bit more, I would say lean to the audio side or lean to finding ways to really bring up that audio, to bring up that quality a little bit. And again, too, you have to kind of find that balance. You don't want to be crammed beside the other person, especially during this day of social distancing. So again, find that little balance. And again, too, there's a lot of cheaper microphones out there that may provide that for you. I don't know if anybody has any questions about that. Hopefully that kind of got it. If anybody's got any questions, feel free to send it to James. But I'll kind of keep on going through. Let's go ahead and we're going to go back to using Zoom for a second. So Zoom, again, it's one of the most common programs out there. I know some people, there's a free version and a paid version of it. There is certain drawbacks to having, just a free account to a paid account, but that's pretty much determined by the amount of people you're hosting and certain capabilities. Again, to Zoom, I think also to Google has some features, but mainly we're going to talk about Zoom because that's kind of been the hot item through this whole situation that we've been having with the coronavirus. So that one seems like it got the most steam, most people picked up on it. Again, too, as we're doing right now, we're actually recording this. So a lot of times if you're having somebody that's on a different location, you can actually record the interview that you're using. So I'm going to pull up a quick video on how to share, not how to share, but how to record onto Zoom. So give me one moment as we switch that out. Let's see.
Recording a Zoom meeting is a simple process. Just select the record icon at the bottom of your Zoom meeting window. Zoom offers two options for recording. Record to this computer will save the file locally on your computer in an MP4 format, while recording to the cloud will save directly to Zoom's website and is optimal if you plan to share the recording later. If you do not see an option here, you are likely recording directly to your computer. Unless you're recording automatically, select your option to begin recording your meeting. Once you're recording, you can pause or stop the recording at any point during the Zoom meeting. Once you end the session, there will be a brief conversion process where you will see the recorded file is completed. If you are recording locally to your computer, the recorded file will be accessible from your Documents folder in a subfolder called Zoom. If you're having trouble accessing this folder, simply navigate to your Zoom client, select Meetings, Recorded, and locate the file. You'll have several options for the file you wish to locate. You can play the video, play audio only, open the file, or delete the file. If you record it to the cloud, selecting Open will redirect you to your Zoom web account, where you will have additional options such as sharing your cloud recording with others via a shareable URL.
So again, too, like Zoom is a very easy tool to use. Again, too, I believe the free account is up to 30 minutes, I believe. for meeting hosting. So that is a option if you don't feel like. I think the paid account, I think the first tier is about $15 a month. So kind of take a look at that if that's something that interests you. Again, to Zoom and a lot of these other web clients, that's a great spot if your subject cannot actually physically be with you, and you can just record the interviews you want from home. And again, too, just as we were talking about before, the same things we're talking about audio. Always make sure that that microphone, if it's built in, that you're speaking in front of it. Always take a look at the background. All those same things that we just went over translate to using a webcam from home. Again, too, use that light, all those different things we talked about to just kind of up the quality of your set, video, and audio. And again, too, it's a great way to showcase your stuff. And then let's see. We got Louise asking, he's set up side by side. Again, too, if you look at whenever you record, I believe you can move the windows around. You have different ways of showing what kind of grid view you want to see. Or a lot of times, too, if some people have it selected right now, is that it's just by whoever's speaking. But a lot of times, I believe, is that if you just have two people on the call, you can have the grid view, and it should split everybody side by side. Again, too, if you have it selected just for the whoever's speaking, then Zoom pretty much designates by it sensing the audio and the video movement if which one's going to be featured. So I hope that answered that question. And again, too, try these out. Again, too, you never want to, if you want to go forward and use Zoom or your smartphone, again, I can't emphasize enough, test it ahead of time. Always, again, too, with your web connection, to make sure that the video comes out. Take a moment, do a quick test, whether you're filming with, a friend or somebody, even the interviewee beforehand. Do that test. Make sure you take a look at it, because I know that, if any of the producers that are watching this that, may have a guest that's hard to get, or you get one shot with them, you want to make sure that you test everything out ahead of time to make sure that when that interview is happening, you're good to go. So again, to take those extra moments, try to record, quick test, make sure it's playing back okay, make sure that, if you're on Wi-Fi or if you're directly connected through Ethernet, those little things still go a long way. And again, too, so you can actually see for yourself, because whatever you record is going to be what your viewer sees. So always take that moment, test it out, and see what works best. And again, too, Zoom is a very nice client. Again, we've been using it a lot. I know a lot of other people have been using it. So again, that's a crucial thing during this time to use. So definitely use it, play around with it. And also, too, there's other services out there. Again, too, I know Google uses a group chat, and then so does Skype. So again, too, I'm mainly going to focus on Zoom today, because I think that's the popular one that's been out during this time. So kind of move along. One thing I kind of want to start finishing up this kind of section is that talking about content creation. Again, too, if you're looking about subject matter, I know everybody has a very vast range of subject matters they cover in the show, but use this as a challenge for yourself. Really kind of just, as there's so many different events and everything that's happening during those days, use that to drive your show. Again, a lot of viewers are very forgiving in terms of video quality, or knowing that you're doing it from your house, or that you're shooting on a webcam. But use that as a challenge to make, really great content for your viewers. Again, take the time to light well, set up your audio, and use it as a challenge. Again, too, usually most of the time when we're kind of having to think outside the box, we can kind of create some really interesting visual items. So kind of use that to your advantage. And just take a moment, again, to research what other people have done out there. Good things, I think we've all seen different ways of people filming from afar, making it interesting. Use that to your advantage. Don't get discouraged. Don't get bogged down by thinking whether my viewers are going to be thinking like, okay, why does the background look so bad, or why does this look kind of dark? Use that to your advantage. Make sure that take some extra time, bring it up, and the viewer won't. The viewer is going to always enjoy your content. So use it to your advantage. Really put that again, to if you're used to recording here in the studio and you can't come in, don't let that deter you. Keep on creating that content. And again, too, there's little tricks there. If you had a show for a while, revisit some clips. Take this time to visit clips in the past that you may have aired. Maybe if you had musical guests or musical song, any kind of, something that you could cut to, or something that you can use for your show that you can revisit. Maybe it's an old conversation. Maybe it's a interview you shot 5 years ago. You want to be like, you know what? Let's, during this time, for people that were in quarantine, like, oh, let's revisit that conversation and where we're at now. So if you've been a producer that's been producing for a while, go into the archives, see something that you can actually, use again to your advantage. If you're a new producer, you can still use certain things of that to your advantage. Reach out to people to create from home too. If you want to, use a musical artist, ask them to produce a small little thing from home too. You can kind of use that, and almost do a creative spin on it to make it, very interesting for the viewer. So again, too, just take those moments, take those previous interviews that still, use the stuff around you to create that fantastic content for your show. And we'll do a quick stop. Does anybody have any kind of questions? Because the next thing we're gonna talk about for a little bit is some editing programs that we have. So if anybody's got anything, just send it to James. Then we're going to go into kind of a quick overview about edit programs. I think I see a hand up from Keith.
Yeah.
There we go.
Just a quick thing. You were talking about using Zoom to show. Is Zoom quality high enough to actually put it in a program if you record from Zoom, or is that probably not the best thing to do?
It can be. It won't be as bad. Also, too, one thing we do got to take into account is the quality of your webcams. If somebody's using a webcam maybe of lower quality, right, you may see, if you did a side-by-side, if somebody's using a brand new iMac, their camera is going to be a little bit higher quality, and you may see that slightly. Also, too, you may see some drawbacks in terms of, let's just say your guest or whatever may not be on a Wi-Fi connection. They may be out and about. They may be mobile. They may be out in the field. You may see some certain lag or certain video kind of like, that kind of doing a lower scale resolution. And you may see that. And again, too, that may be when you watch it back, you may see there's a couple issues. So again, that's why you may want to test that ahead of time. Always, talk to whoever you're interviewing for sure to make sure you're on Wi-Fi, make sure you're either on a good connection. And also, too, that's maybe during a time, if you're able to test it out beforehand to make sure that, maybe you may have a really great webcam, but they may not. And you may be like, I don't want that to be distracting. So there could be potentially some drawbacks in terms of quality. It just mainly is sometimes dependent on the internet whenever you're recording, the webcam that they're using, and where they're at physically. So again, too, you may see certain situations where both cameras look great and very usable, and sometimes there may be a little bit of a lag. So you may have to kind of figure out, later on, if you're able to edit, you go in and maybe like, okay, this is what they actually said, something kind of creative. There is that always going to be that certain drawback with certain technologies. You may have a couple hiccups here and there, but again, it's still good, decent quality to be used on a program. And again, too, I've seen main sports shows like ESPN, CBS, a lot of these news organizations, and they're actually using Zoom. So if you see some of the top networks use it, you can see that it actually is usable for your own show.
I would break in too, just to say that I think at this time too, I think a lot of people are a little bit more forgiving of some of those quality issues because they understand kind of what's happening and that we're doing these things remotely with webcams or whatever, or phones. So although the quality may not be what the level would be if you were in the studio here, it's still going to be what I would call usable video if you follow some of the other things that Bubba was talking about with the lighting and the audio. So I wouldn't steer away from that solely because it's not going to be the quality of the cameras in our studio, because really the content is kind of king here. We do like quality, but the content's going to be what's going to help drive that. And I think people nowadays are going to be a little bit more forgiving, at least in the short term, on things like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, too, take those moments to go, before the show or before you're going to record, take a quick test because, again, it's up to your standards. If you feel like if that works for you, definitely use it and just take a moment to test out. And again, I mean, you may want to avoid, recording from somebody that's currently in Antarctica or somebody far away where, you may have not the best signal or something. So take all those little things into account as you, get to it. That's why I can't stress enough. Test it ahead of time. You never know. Just try it out, even just for a quick 2-minute clip. Then when you play it back, you can kind of see what you're getting. So,
I also wanted to just say that when we're doing this, we're talking about, I'm going to just reemphasize, we're talking about a smaller area.
Yeah.
I've got everything set up that I'm shooting here right now. The farthest my one light is about 5.5 feet from me.
Okay.
And so everything is real close in. I'm using my white part of the screen, my television screen, to help illuminate me.
Yeah.
I'm kind of dark right now because we've got a little bit darker shot here, but you can put a white screen up and use it for a reflector if you're just talking to a camera.
Yeah, and actually, just looking at your screen right now, Keith, is that, even those, talking about headphones, the headphone you're wearing right now, just with the headset, those are very affordable. I have a little gaming headset that I was using, and I think it was about $20. So just to have that microphone by your mouth, and those usually have long cords, that could be an option for you too. So again, too, just those little, like a headphone microphone, that alone can increase the audio quality. And again, too, taking those small steps. Again, too, I've seen that too a lot with, if you're talking on screen, just pull up a bit, even on your computer, bring up a big page or background of white, and that's actually going to illuminate your face. So again, your computer screen in certain situations may act as a key light or even a fill light. So kind of use that to your advantage as well. So yeah. And again, too, again, those little headphones, all these little pieces of equipment, again, luckily nowadays, again, you don't need the utmost professional. There is a lot of cost-effective stuff. And again, too, even just that slight microphone by your face through a headset, that could go a long ways in terms of quality and even to not even dropping out because you got a hard light into your computer or into your phone, and it can work very well for you. All righty. Any other questions, guys? Anybody got anything else before we go into editing? And again, too, I've seen a lot of people wearing like the regular headphones that come with their phones. Those headphones that have the mics installed, those are also a good option. I would say if you're recording, a lot of people even has AirPods that have the mics or any of those, use those to advantage. Those pick up just as good quality too. So again, if you have those at your disposal, I'd say always opt for that other than just your onboard microphone itself. All right, so I guess I'm gonna go ahead and go quickly into editing. We're doing good on time. It's about 3 o'clock, so we're going along. Hopefully, everybody has been able to enjoy so far. So we're gonna go kind of quickly, not much in depth, but I wanted to just kind of go. There's a couple editing programs out there that could help. I previously had a workshop here that we kind of went over some free and paid programs more in depth, and we may try to send some of that information out to you guys. So it's kind of a little bit of a smaller breakdown of what each editing program does. There are a lot of free programs out there. Again, to edit your program at home, if you're able to, there's some good resources. I'm kind of going to break it down just kind of into some slightly free, some slightly paid. Some have different tiers, and some you can actually use as free trials too. One of the first things I kind of want to cover about editing programs is the computers you have at home. Typically, a lot of these editing programs do require a little bit of processing in terms of graphics and your CPU. Those are the two main driving forces that kind of control your computer. So again, too, if you have an older computer by a couple years, you may see some issues in compatibility with some of these programs. Also, too, if you have a newer computer by the last 2-3 years, even with those last 2-3 years, or even 4 years, those computers still can handle pretty well. In terms of, recording onto your phone, recording onto Zoom, a lot of those images are going to be compressed anyways. So most of these edit programs should be able to handle that type of files because you're not going to be throwing too big at it to handle. But you do want to take into account, if you have a newer computer, that it will be a little bit easier to use it. If you have an older computer by more than 5 years, you may see a lot of issues with it. But again, too, if it's a free program that I go over, feel free to download it, try it out, see if it works. There's a lot of good options up there. One of the basic ones is kind of Windows Movie Maker. Some of it kind of used to come pre-installed on a certain Windows devices. I think now you have to download it separately. That's a program that's very straightforward to use. That one you're able to pick apart. I think a couple of people, members in the past have mentioned they've used that. In terms of just very basic of just stitching together clips, titles, pictures, it can do kind of the basics that you need for your show. One of the other ones free that's out there, it's called DaVinci Resolve. Now this is one of the higher processing programs. There's 2 different tiers. There's a free version and a studio paid version. It's a pretty big difference. If it's free, then the paid studio version is about $300, which again too, that may be pretty big for anybody to pay up front. So, the free versions actually work pretty well because essentially there's certain graphical components, certain audio, like really, advanced stuff you don't get with the free version, and also too exporting to 4K. But the good thing is that we pretty much handle all 1080 here at the station, so it could be a good option for you. DaVinci, does have a slight learning curve to it, in terms of just kind of getting used to the beginning part of it, the way it's formatted. But it's actually, once you get to use it, it's very easy. A lot of good tutorials out there on it. And also that could be an option. Although, again, too, I want to just quickly note again, that one typically needs a large graphics card, depending on what you're throwing at it. So, again, that may be something you want to try to test to see if that kind of works for you. Another one that I've covered in one of my classes, one of the workshops we did here, was called Hitfilm Express. Hitfilm Express is kind of a semi-paid program. What its paid process, or the way it kind of works, is that you buy it in packs. So in terms of what you want it to do, whether you want to do cool graphic effects, some cool, some more animated graphics, or a basic editing suite, you can kind of build it out, get all the bells and whistles for about almost, I think, $200, even more. Or you can get the basic editing stuff, I think, for about $20 to $30, I believe, last time I checked. So you can kind of get just a basic editing software that, that you can trim up clips, add titles, add photos, add music, able to export it to the formats that we use here at the station. So that could be an option for you too. Again, too, the other 2 big ones that are out there is obviously Final Cut Pro. If you edit here, or if you've had experiences with an editor that uses it, that's one of the most common ones that people use whenever they are with Macintosh products or Apple products. And then Adobe, which offers a big creative suite, which they can offer everything from, Adobe Premiere, which is the main editing application, to all the other stuff like Photoshops, After Effects, Illustrator, and a lot of the other things they just use mainly in graphic design. Now, a couple of those out there is that the difference between Final Cut Pro and Adobe, while there's many in terms of paid, is that Final Cut Pro is a paid program, so it's about $300. Adobe, they kind of go on subscription-based. So determining of apps, I think if you get a single app, it's usually about $20. If you try to get the whole suite, it's about $50. I've seen sales and specials. I think actually I got lucky enough that we may have missed the window, but I'll double check after this is over, is that a lot of these editing programs were offering free trials for a while. So I know that Adobe for a little bit was offering 3 months free to try out their products. So that could be an option. So during this time, because everybody kind of went digital in producing from home, I saw a lot of deals and specials and even free trials of some of these programs out there. So again, too, it's you can, I'll have a list of some stuff we can send out, and just kind of if you're interested from editing from home, if you're not able to edit here, if you're not able to get your stuff out there, there are awesome free programs. Again, too, just take a moment, find them, download them on your computer, and test them out and see if that your computer can handle it. And again, to those, again, to like using that can help you out. I think. Take any questions on that one? Actually, let me go to my other pal. I think I got Keith again.
Yeah, I've become a big DaVinci Resolve user. I started out using Avid Media Composer, and then I moved to Adobe. If you get the free version of DaVinci Resolve for the types of things that we would be doing largely as producers here at Cable Access, the free version will give you everything. And in the latest version of DaVinci Resolve, they put what they've called a cut page that works more like Windows Media Maker. So if you're familiar with some of these easier programs, DaVinci Resolve has that, which would be pretty easy to learn for people that have been used to using lower end editing projects. I've been amazed with DaVinci Resolve. I mean, obviously, I thought I could never live without Avid, and then I moved finally into Premiere, and I'm pleased and I'm just using the free version.
Yeah,
of DaVinci Resolve. I'm just blown away.
It's a great resource.
I'm not doing a testimonial for them, but I have found it to be a very useful program.
Again, it's a very once you get it down, it's very user friendly. Once you just kind of get used to its layout, it's very I can see a lot of similarities with Final Cut Pro in terms of just making up your timeline.
Right. But I've spent most of my career making nuts and bolts videos. So ultimately, if you think about how can I make my show simple, the better it is. And also with all of these programs, even though you don't have the most expensive, I'm shooting now a lot 4K, but I'm transferring it in and creating a proxy that's very low end. I'm using a lot of times just standard definition, widescreen standard definition to ease the amount of memory that I have to get a show. Then when I'm finished, I output the show at 4K or 1080, or whatever. So again, there's ways of doing it. You just have to look into it.
Yeah, again, it's a great option. I would say out of the most, if your computer can handle it, definitely use DaVinci Resolve. It's a fantastic program. Again, too, it's free. Just try it out on your computer, see if it works for you, and kind of again too, just play around it. Again, during this time, using as this is why we want to put ourselves available to you guys to show you what's out there, what you can use at your disposal, because there was a lot of good resources that you can use, and DaVinci Resolve is one of them. All right, so I'm gonna do a quick kind of little kind of wrap up, I guess. We've kind of covered a little bit again too, from shooting from your phones, webcams, and even to basic cameras. A lot of basic cameras that are out there. I'll just kind of quickly go over to before DSLRs. Those are one of the more common ones. A lot of your photography cameras now all typically shoot video. So if you have one at your home, you can potentially use that. A lot of these, even PowerShot cameras, the really small ones, can also record a video. So right now in this technological age, we do have a lot of resources if you don't have access to a professional camera. And again, just to wrap up, a lot of good audio resources out there. So take a look at some of the microphones that could fit in your budget. If you're able to, I'd always kind of lean towards audio because that's what the viewer is going to be listening to. And again, using those little tips and tricks to make sure that, not in a big echoey room, make sure that the microphone is close to your interview subjects. If you have the additional equipment, try to use it, even from like a headphones that may have come with your phone from the little headset. All those things bump up the quality of your program by a lot. I get to use those tricks around the house. Use an open window. Use the lighting, all your lighting items that you may have. Use those to your advantage. We got Belinda's asking about how to use a background image on Zoom. some of the background images, I know there is some paid ones in terms of the amount of backgrounds you can use. So I think, let me double check on here where I have it. Some of the menus gives you a chance to bring in a background. Let's see. Take a quick look. Oh, if you have an image that you've created yourself, there is certain stuff you can use. I think you see a couple people in the chat that have a background up already. Essentially, too, when you make an image, you should be able to share it through the background. I got to double check. One of the things you do want to take a look at as you're creating a background, depending if it's one that you created yourself, just maybe through a JPEG, or if one of the pre-made ones, you kind of want to look at the colors that are used. Again, too, if anything with your wardrobe that you're wearing, okay, you can upload your own JPEG file. So just say if you will use in your own image from home, again, too, take into account the wardrobe you're wearing, your hair and everything to make sure nothing kind of bleeds in. It does do kind of like a rough, not keying, I would say, even James, I don't know what the phrase would be. Not really a key around you, but essentially it's taking the shape of your shoulders and almost kind of like a motion tracking thing. So that's why you see a slight blur around your head as you have an image. There are some moving images. I know you can buy a couple packs of virtual backgrounds. So again, too, you want to find that balance when you're using backgrounds in Zoom or any other program that it doesn't clash with whatever's happening on screen. So again, if you're on a tropical island, or if you got a picture of some kind of city, you want to make sure it's not too distracting for your viewers, because again, too, they may just be watching a little bit too, it may be a little bit too distracting. So take that into account as you're creating those backgrounds. Let's see. Let me see. I'm gonna take a look at this. Because usually it has your basic ones are very kind of preset. Some of them you have to download. And again, too, one thing you do want to kind of take into account, depending on your camera that you have, or to say, not the camera you have, but if the way that your background's set up is that you don't want to inadvertently cause something, depending if you have a lower quality computer, it may take a lot of processing power and you may see some issues. Right now, James is in space, I think. So we got a couple good quality. You can see usually it does a pretty good job of masking around the face and the shoulders. To kind of it's got the software is able to kind of pick and choose what it's focusing on. So again, too, if you're trying to move around a lot, you may see some distortion or interference from it, and also too how well you're lit. So again, too, we see when James moved a little bit. If you're able to see, it's kind of tracking you a little bit. So again, too, you want to find that medium balance. You don't want it to be too distracting for your viewers. So by moving, or again, too, if you're going to be very animated when you talk, take those into account. That again, too, it may look good in the background, but it may actually distract your viewers just enough that it could actually hinder your Alrighty. So any other questions, guys? Again, too, I think on our final page, just what we were talking about before, the viewers during this time are very forgiving, just like James was saying. That any kind of inconsistencies in quality that you've seen before, they are very much forgiving. So again, too, use this time, challenge yourself, challenge your program, find innovative ways to bring content. Again, too, even from using past interviews, past musical performances, any of those little things overall can actually help out. So again, take this time. Don't be discouraged by any kind of quality. Use that to your advantage. Use that to drive your program. So yeah, that's pretty much the items that I have to go over right now. get to if anybody's got any more questions, or if anybody has any kind of maybe experiences creating content. If anybody wants to speak up for a moment, we can do kind of a quick discussion. We won't go too long, but if anybody has any stories or anybody got any kind of situations that they found themselves, Keith was saying a good thing, like how he was recording that using the the screen, his computer screen as some light, using a small set. So again, if anybody has any other experiences that wants to speak up, I think we got Valerie. I think Valerie's got one. Let me go ahead and expand this out so I can see everybody. I don't want to miss anyone. Give me one moment.
Okay, I'll unmute. James, how did you get your video screen to do that?
If you go down to the lower right of your screen, you see stop video.
Yes.
And there's a little arrow. And if you click on the arrow, it opens up a menu. And one of those is choose virtual background.
Oh, I see it.
And once you choose that, then there's some backgrounds you can choose. And it'll tell you you got to download them maybe, but it only takes
some of
about
them you
5
got
seconds.
Okay, I see.
It didn't take very long, and then it just put it right in.
Okay, I'll find some. Thank you.
Sure.
There we go.
And for Belinda, that's the same place. There's also in there, it talks about uploading an image.
Okay, look at hers.
If you go to choose virtual background, there's a little plus sign. If you click that, it says add image. So you could add your image there.
Okay.
Again, too, some of these you'll see, I think for example, I think I see lens. You can see, depending on lighting, I think I see more of her glasses than anything. So again, you may see the way it's blending in, if there's not enough light, it may just choose what it thinks is there. And you may get some interesting images. So again, to play around with it ahead of time, if you're, interviewing your subject and one of these issues come up, you don't want it to be distracted. So again, play around, test it out, make sure it works for you. Again, too, depending on your camera, your computer and everything, it's gonna do things differently. So again, to take this time to play around with it, play with some background, see if it works for your show.
I also have a question, looks like from Beverly Smith. On Zoom, how to pull video Zoom into Adobe.
Essentially, is after we record it, it's going to have the file afterwards. You'll see in doing that video we showed before is that it pretty much showed that it's going to do a slight conversion process. So once you do that slight conversion process, once you find the file from Adobe, if you're using Adobe Premiere, you should just be able to just straight import it in, and it will convert it whatever output that you need to. So it should just be as simple as just importing the file itself. I do believe those file types for Zoom is pretty easy it shouldn't throw any editing programs off. It should convert fairly easy. Let's see. Alrighty. Well, again, if anybody's got any additional questions or stories, experiences, it's good to see everybody here in the class. So I hope everybody got to enjoy the subject we got, covered. I got just kind of a basic overview, but again, if anybody's got any more detailed questions, feel free to send them forward along to us, me or James, and we'll try to, again, talk about. And also, this is probably one of the larger Zoom classes we've had in the past. So hopefully, again, if there's any kind of feedback, if everybody had a good, hopefully everybody had a good connection speed, everybody hopefully got to see the videos pretty well. Again, to us too internally, we recorded the whole meeting, so we'll kind of take a look at it and see how it looks and everything, and going forward. So, yeah, that kind of wraps it up on our side. I don't know if it's about 3:20, so we did a pretty good, almost hour and a half. So I think.
So the plan is that we're going to be posting this recording later. Bubba, don't want to speak for Bubba, but we'll share the PowerPoint presentation. So if people miss something or want to go back and look at it, you'll be able to do that as well. So I guess keep an eye out for that. And also we'll be sending out a online survey, what you thought about this. And if you want to give any feedback there, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah. And thanks so much, guys. I know, again, during this time when everybody's kind of stuck at home and not able to get out, Again, too, luckily we can still all speak to each other. We got a great community here. So again, to always stay in touch with everybody, and again, to during this time, use all this, any kind of challenges, use it to your advantage. Really embrace it, and really, put that passion into your content. Let that drive it. And I have complete faith in you guys. I know you're gonna do a fantastic job. So just use these. Hopefully, these tools. One of the things I went over. Hopefully, it's gonna encourage you to do some new things. So we're just excited for you guys, everybody out there, and yeah, we're excited to see what you guys bring to the station.
Oh, and Deborah is also asking if we're going to be sending out the links that you use for your video.
Oh yeah, I will get those. I had an issue with my PowerPoint when I had them up, so we'll send that to the class list. I'll give you. It's pretty much a list of some of the best camera lenses and some of the best microphones out there. And they kind of, the list I gave you, they kind of break it down in terms of price, quality, and ease of use. So it's a very straightforward list, but we'll send those out to the class.
Cool.
Well, Hugh and James, thank you so much.
Cool.
Thank you
you.
Yeah, thank you all for all you do.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
That was great, fellas. That was real informative.
No problem. That's great. Good to see everybody's faces. I know a couple of you guys I haven't got to see in a while.
Thank you, and God bless everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Right.
Bye. You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks for watching. I hope you got some good information out of it. If you have any questions or ideas, feel free to call us or email us. And we'll have some more stuff coming here at Access 21. Thanks for watching.